Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing? It's November 7th. I still cannot believe that we are already at the end of the year. How is everyone doing? This has been a crazy couple of weeks. I thought that possibly I was going to be moving out of the location that I'm currently in, but then so much was happening, so I wasn't able to. And so I'm still in the same place, but soon I'll be moving out of this space into a new one. Moving always sucks. I mean, moving is never fun, honestly. Time to eat, Mariah. Time to eat, indeed. Time to eat, indeed. I'm doing well. Truth is 3 months today. So I cannot believe that I gave birth three months ago at home here. And Nova is about to turn 3 years old on November 15th, which is, I'm like, I'm getting old. I'm getting old. I'm about to turn 32. But to be honest with you, I'm actually enjoying getting older. There's so much wisdom that comes with getting older that I'm honestly happy about it. Also, you kind of learn to not give an F, you know? You start to just really know what you want to say, or you know what you want to say more than you did, you know, a few years back. And so there's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of freedom in that. Which I feel like you were about to pop. About to pop. Yeah, I mean, when I was first doing Eat Predators, you know, I was 9 months pregnant. I was right in my birth window. I thought that I was going to go into labor while I was filming, but that did not end up happening, which was chill. Miko's in the chat saying, Adam, check your texts. Whoa. We're moving. I'm moving. I'm 10 years wiser than love. Right? I feel like especially when a woman specifically gets older, you know, there's a huge transformation that happens with that, where you unlearn, hopefully, you unlearn a lot. You're no longer reliant on the patriarchal concept of a woman, where you're not so much interested in how you appear or how you appease, and you're a lot more interested in your own personal opinion and what you have to share with the world. And there is so much beauty in that. Really so much beauty in that. And I'm, you know, obviously currently getting to experience that as I get older, and I'm a mom of 2, but I'm hoping that I get to set an example for Nova where she gets to see that I'm enjoying, you know, getting older. I'm actually enjoying it. There's some pain that comes along with it, obviously, because a lot of truths that maybe your brain was protecting you from, trauma, for example, you know, become a lot more crystallized and realized, and you have to face that. And that is the painful part of getting older. But the wisdom that comes out of that pain is honestly priceless. And I really would not trade it for the world. Honestly, I really would not trade it. I do not want to go back to my 20s, if you know what I mean. I do not want to go back to my 20s. I am good. Oh, hi, Jay. Jay, what's up? No, Adam actually is behind the camera right now. Miko is upstairs with the kids. Hey, Christian. Hey, Josh. Hi, everyone. Okay, so today we're going to get into a lot of alleged dads, all right? There's a lot of alleged dads popping up left and right, which is always a sad blast, to be quite honest with you. Timbaland recently did an interview and mentioned Britney Spears in a way that I am extremely not okay with, to be quite honest with you. So we're going to get into that. We're also getting to like Steven Tyler with his allegations. That story is so despicable, to be quite honest with you. There was an adoption. He became a guardian of the girl that he was allegedly, grooming. It's so gross. It's so gross. And then Russell Brand has a lawsuit. So someone has sued Russell Brand, and we're going to get into that as well. There's a lot to unpack here. Timbaland happened last minute, but I think it's very important to go into Timbaland because what he was stating, what he was saying in that interview was beyond offensive. And it wasn't even just offensive to, even Britney Spears. It was offensive to all women out there that have spoken their truth to power, right? And women have had a muzzle on them for thousands of years. And we're fighting for that muzzle to be removed, especially survivors. And to see a man say that, Britney Spears should have a muzzle on her, to me personally, it's also speaking to all women, right? It's speaking to all women out there that men still think it's okay to want to put a muzzle on us. And that is deeply, deeply disturbing, especially when you look back at the history of the muzzle that women have had to endure for so long. So we're going to get into everything. We're going to digest Timbaland. We're going to digest Steven Tyler, and we're going to digest Russell Brand. And so, yeah. What is everyone saying? Preach. Yeah, preach. It's so disturbing. I was so offended. I was so offended. And so, yeah, Quan. Yeah, Survivors United, 100%. So before we go into everything, I like to start this with letting everyone know that I have personally dedicated my life to this work. And it's been very hard to keep it sustainable. And so I'm here to remind everyone all the options to help this be sustainable. So first and foremost, for ePredators, we have merch. The merch is awesome because I personally find it great to wear it out and about to create awareness around these issues. Also, I've heard a lot of individuals say that when they're wearing a t-shirt or they're wearing a tote, that it starts up a conversation with a stranger and they're able to spread awareness. So just a reminder, ePredators.com, we have a lot of different merch. We also have the Scientology t-shirt, which all proceeds go to the Aftermath, which helps Scientologists or ex-Scientologists get out, escape Scientology safely. So all proceeds for this t-shirt goes towards the Aftermath. And then my favorite one is still Power to Survivors tote. Power to Survivors for me is honestly the anthem of ePredators, is empowering and giving back the power to survivors, because after we have experienced what we sadly had to endure, we feel like we have a loss of power, a loss of agency. And so giving the power back to survivors saves lives, honestly. It really, really does. And it can also spread awareness to hopefully not allow any more potential victims to happen. So Power to Survivors is also a great way to spread awareness, and it also helps keep what I'm doing personally and other survivors that come to the protests sustainable. Also, we have the Patreon. So if you're like, you know what, I honestly don't want to buy any merch, but I do want to help the activism aspect of ePredators and the artivism aspect. Behind me, you can see there's a bunch of protest signs. These are actual protest signs that we have created to go out and protest a bunch of different institutions and alleged predators, wanting accountability and wanting justice for survivors. So the Patreon goes strictly towards the protests, the artivism and the activism aspect. And then when it comes to the YouTube, becoming a member really, really helps. There's 3 tiers right now: dinner party, the munchies, and the chef's kiss. The chef's kiss is for the Britney Spears book club. Currently, we're reading the book and we are expressing our different opinions about it as survivors and also as allies. And it's been so, so wonderful. And then also for all of the tiers, I have every other Sunday, we are getting into, actually, let me make this full screen. We're getting into Social Change Now, which is a workbook where we're figuring out in which ways we want to uniquely become a part of social change. And there's really not one way, right? There's not one way of getting active. There are many ways of getting active. And so my hopes for, those Sundays is that each and every one of us can find our unique voices and our unique ways of participating in social change for survivors or for whatever other issue you are wanting to speak up against. So that's for all members, and I'm really enjoying it. This book is awesome. So I'm hoping to see you all there. Wait, what is Sunday? Oh, this Sunday is Britney Spears book club, but the following one will be back at Social Change Now. So also liking and subscribing, no matter how you are spreading the word, you are so deeply appreciated. I really can't put it into words. Like, just any way that you are showing up for survivors, if you're a survivor yourself or you are an ally, you are deeply, deeply appreciated. So I just want to say that, even if you're not a member, a Patreon, etc., like, thank you so much for just showing up and even giving a view to the YouTube channel. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. God, I don't even want to hear Timbaland speak, honestly, right now. I'm a hair? Okay, I'll turn it down. How is the audio now? Is it a little bit better? Okay. Yeah, lots of ways to change society. Honestly, there are lots of ways. And, for me, I got guided towards Eat Predators, and it honestly has changed my life. Gave me a lot of meaning. It made me feel very empowered at times where I felt hopeless. I felt let down by the justice system, by police, etc. And Eat Predators gave me a lot of purpose. And, once I realized, okay, maybe my own personal justice road is going to be very hard to go down, the least that I can do to feel empowered again is to help others and to also share what I have learned while going down my personal, justice road. So, Tangerine, welcome to the dinner party. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so let's get into Timbaland, because this bro, man, this alleged dad. Okay, let's watch the video first where he talks about Britney Spears, and then we'll move forward, okay? Okay.
Because of Britney's memoir, she's saying that
she's going crazy, right? I wanted to call her JT, man. You got to put a muzzle on that girl. But you know what? We live in the age of social media and viral. Everybody won't go viral. I get it, because that's the way you make money. Go viral. I got to do something to get people attention. So,
Crimea River is making headlines.
I want to hear this one more time.
Because of Britney's memoir, she's saying that
she's going crazy, right? I wanted to call her JT, man. You got to put a muzzle on that girl. But you know what? We live in the age of social media and viral. Everybody won't go viral. I get it.
Like you?
You make money, go viral. I got to do something to get people attention. So,
Crimea River is...
Okay, so here's Timbaland. I guess he did an interview where he thought it was chill to not only call Britney Spears crazy, but to also say that JT, Justin Timberlake, should put a muzzle on her, which I'm guessing Timbaland did not read Britney Spears' book, right? I'm assuming, because if he did read Britney Spears' book, he would realize that Britney Spears had a muzzle on her for over 13 years in an abusive conservatorship. Right? And that's what a lot of the book is about that muzzle that was put onto Britney Spears by her family and by allegedly institutions like TriStar, who, by the way, the head of TriStar is Lou Taylor. Lou Taylor is right here behind me. I'll never forget that woman. But most of the book is about that conservatorship, which to me, an abusive conservatorship is a muzzle. And she explained that in pretty great detail, right? I mean, am I over exaggerating here? Didn't Britney Spears really give us a clear picture of what her personal muzzle was like? And now you got this man, this bro, this alleged dad, hyping up the crowd to want to put a muzzle on Britney Spears again. And for me as a woman, women have had muzzles put on them for thousands of years. So when he said that, I couldn't not think about myself, and I couldn't not think about my own daughter. That men are still throwing around that they think it's acceptable behavior to want to put a muzzle on a woman. I mean, it's pretty deeply disturbing. And then him saying the whole viral thing, it's like, dude, Britney Spears is not trying to go viral, by the way, if that's what you were trying to insinuate. Britney Spears is a pop queen. She's viral all the time. Her existence is viral. She's worked her ass off to be maybe that's not her personal, intention, but she worked her ass off and now she's viral for life. That book wasn't just about getting viral. That book was about a survivor being able to finally speak her truth. And tell the world what happened to her through her own words. It was a testimony, right? And to minimize that strength and that inspiration for so many people out there, to minimize it to wanting to go viral, I personally feel like that was a projection for Timbaland. I haven't heard much about Timbaland for a good while. I almost forgot about Timbaland, to be quite honest with you. And now when I hear him speaking like this, I can't help but think to myself, is he trying to go viral off of Britney Spears? Right? And if we look back throughout pop culture and media and tabloids, etc., we saw so many individuals making so much money off of Britney Spears, right? Wanting to go viral, as Timbaland says. Even just mentioning her sold magazines, got clicks, etc. They capitalized off of Britney Spears. And I can't help but wonder if Timbaland is trying to do the same thing here, right? It just feels like a projection. It feels unwarranted. And it's bizarre. And if he is best friends still with someone like Justin Timberlake, who I'm praying has either personally apologized to Britney and then maybe publicly apologize. But right now, Justin Timberlake, I'm going to speak directly to you. If this is your friend, It's probably a good time for you to speak up and say that you don't support your friend's words here, where you personally don't support anyone saying that they want to put a muzzle on a woman, right? And albeit Britney Spears, who has already experienced the most extreme abusive muzzle, right? Now would be a good time to maybe speak up and separate yourself from your good friend, Timbaland. And maybe now would be a good time to say that you don't think Britney Spears is crazy. And crazy has been thrown around so many times for women, for anyone, honestly, other than white men, sometimes men in general, is once a woman or an individual steps up, tells their truth to power, they're deemed crazy. And crazy has many implications. It puts many people's lives at danger. And within Britney Spears' book, if Timbaland read it, he would have learned what that word crazy did to somebody. How it stole over 13 years of Britney Spears' life. That word crazy had horrific implications. And now we're in 2023 and we have a bro here by the name of Timbaland wanting to perpetuate that complicity, perpetuate the abuse that someone like Britney Spears has sadly had to endure. And as a mom, after reading Britney Spears' book, I cried. I really cried in bed with my son Truth next to me, reading how her kids were taken from her, etc., and how they used that word crazy to separate her from her children. When she wasn't crazy, Britney Spears wasn't crazy. Britney Spears was responding to what had happened to her, feeling free in the ways in which she wanted to feel free, and having agency over her own body and mind for the first time. As a child star, I know a little bit what that feels like, right? As a child growing up in this industry, the main thing you feel like you don't have access to is your own autonomy, your own decision making. You're taught to people please. So if someone else has a suggestion on something, you don't want to offend them, so you'll go along with it. And so what I saw with Britney Spears was the first time she was feeling freedom. And everyone has the right to exhilarate in their freedom in the ways in which they want to. And Britney Spears didn't harm nobody. Britney Spears didn't harm anybody with her freedom. But a lot of people harmed Britney Spears when it came to her having her own freedom. And that's what I personally witnessed. And that's what I personally understood while reading Britney Spears' book is a lot of people benefited from deeming her crazy. And a lot of people had a problem with her being free. And what did they do? What did these individuals and our culture do? They put a muzzle on her. They silenced her. They put her away. They put her far away. They put her through things that honestly, no one should ever have to deal with in their entire life. No one. No one should ever have to deal with what Britney Spears had to deal with. And to hear Timbaland laugh about it and hear a whole crowd of people just laughing, ha, 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 put a muzzle on her, put a muzzle on a woman, put a muzzle on somebody who had a muzzle on them for 13 plus years. And I would like to argue that when you're a child star, you kind of have this invisible muzzle. You have an invisible muzzle because you haven't learned how to say no. No one's ever taught you how to fucking say no. No one. You don't even feel like no is an option. So there's this invisible muzzle that you have in the entertainment industry as a child. So before the main muzzle that happened with the conservatorship, there was an invisible muzzle as well for Britney Spears. And this book is freedom. This book is the example of what happens when a woman, when a survivor no longer has a muzzle on them. Her book is a testimony about what it was like to have a muzzle on her. And I don't find it funny at all, Timbaland, or the crowd that's laughing along with him. I don't really find that funny at all. And of course, I can't help but wonder, does Timbaland have a daughter? Does Timbaland have a daughter? Can you imagine Timbaland? Which, by the way, I found out he does have a daughter. He's an alleged dad. You have a daughter, Timbaland. Would you want anyone wanting to put a muzzle on her? On her truth? On her own words? Would you ever laugh along with a crowd that wanted to put a muzzle on your daughter? I don't think so. I sure hope not. Would you be okay with someone calling your daughter crazy for speaking her truth? Would you ever call your daughter crazy for finally having agency over her own truth and power after being silenced for over 13 years in an abusive conservatorship? I don't think so. I would sure hope not, because that would just make you a soulless individual. But I hate to have to, put the example on your daughter, but you are speaking about a woman here. You are speaking about a woman who has had a muzzle on her for over 13 years and wanting to put it back on her and joking about it as a mom with a daughter. Every day, I'm constantly thinking about how my personal example is going to show up in my daughter's future. I know that my daughter's probably going to witness a lot of these e-predators YouTube videos, right? And every day, I want to make my children proud of me. I want to make my children feel empowered. I want my children to know how important community is, how important it is to stand up for those that don't have a voice, how important it is for us to empower those that have individuals who have been silenced. So if you have a daughter, I'm having a very, very hard time understanding why you would say such a thing unless you were trying to go viral. Unless that's how you make money these days and just wanted to go viral. And man, did you go maybe viral in probably one of the worst ways I've seen in a minute. And so I'm going to dedicate the first bit of this live to educating Timbaland about the history of what has happened to women when they have been called and deemed crazy, when they speak their truth to power, when they speak truth to even their family members, for example. And so for the first part of this, I'm going to give Timbaland a little bit of a history lesson, teach him about the word crazy, the implications of that, and how much harm it can do to so many. So So I guess here it is. So yeah, here. So he does have a daughter. It looks like here. Timbaland celebrates daughter's 13th birthday. Okay, so you have a daughter. So it's sad that sometimes women have to tell men, do you have a wife? Do you have a friend that's do you know that whole thing where women are having to go like, do you have a friend that's a woman? Are you a dad to a girl? Like, it's so ridiculous to even have to go there, but sometimes it's important to, because it should at least put things into perspective for these men. And if it doesn't, then that says a lot more about them than anything, to be quite honest. So he is an alleged dad. It's a confirmation that Timbaland is a alleged dad. So let's go into this. I don't know if anyone knows about this whole story, but actually let me go full. This is an incredible book. It's called The Woman They Could Not Silence. And it was a book that got me through a lot of hard times going through my litigation process, because also my predator was constantly calling me crazy. To everyone around him, all of my friends calling me crazy once I spoke out against him. And I found this article, I found this book, and it really helped me. So before going into this, we're going to do an introduction to who Elizabeth Packard is. Because this is someone who really paved the way for someone like Britney Spears. And everyone should know who Elizabeth Packard is, and also especially Timbaland. Declared insane for speaking up. Sound familiar? The dark American history of silencing women through psychiatry. On a hot summer's night in June 1860, the heavy door of the insane asylum clanged shut behind Elizabeth Packard, and she felt all hope desert her. Because she was not mad, she was merely independent. Yet, according to 19th century psychiatry, female independence was madness. I'm going to repeat that one more time for everyone in the back. According to 19th century psychiatry, female independence was madness. Elizabeth, a housewife and mother of 6, had simply stood up to her domineering husband, as she would record in a defense of her sanity that she wrote while in the asylum. She'd insisted, I, though a woman, have just as good a right to my opinion as my husband has to his. But assertive women in those days were swiftly dispatched to asylums, institutionalized for causing the greatest annoyances to the family. Does that sound familiar? Anyone else read Britney Spears' book? The greatest annoyances to the family, and then whoop, right into the asylum. And for defying all domestic control. No wonder Elizabeth had found herself on the wrong side of a locked ward door in the Jacksonville Insane Asylum in Illinois. The received medical wisdom of the age was that assertive, ambitious women were unnatural and therefore sick. For centuries, women's natures had been thought inextricably linked to their reproductive organs, and over time, this supposedly scientific fact had evolved into the belief that it was natural for women to be fulfilled solely by being wives and mothers. When in the 19th century, biological-based gender roles came to the fore, work and intellect for men, home, and children for women, it was one small step for doctors to declare that any woman who rejected her submissive domestic role was medically impaired. Said one doctor after visiting a girls' school in 1858, "You seem to be training your girls for the lunatic asylum." Women who studied or read, or who simply had minds of their own and a determination to use them were demonstrating eccentricity of conduct, which meant they were morally insane. A diagnosis invented by James Cowell Pritchard in 1835, they were to be locked away until they were conformed to more natural feminine behavior. And it was easy for the men in their lives to do it. When Elizabeth's husband looked into the matter, he found he could arrange his wife's committal simply by the request of the husband, and specifically without the evidence of insanity required in other cases, which, by the way, I don't know if I remember this correctly, but with Britney Spears, I remember someone checking a box that she had dementia or something with no actual proof, etc., that any of that was actually taking place. And so we can see where the history of this all stemmed from. It has a history to it. So my husband placed me in this insane asylum, fully determined I should have a thorough dressing down or breaking in before he should take me out. As Elizabeth assessed her situation, she saw starkly the future that awaited if she refused to submit. Many of her fellow patients were also sane. Wow, shocking. So a lot of the other patients that were probably women, were sane, but had been at the asylum for years. One, guilty of extreme jealousy, was midway through a 16-year incarceration. 16 years for extreme jealousy. Elizabeth's compatriots had been committed for reading novels, for hard study, and for insane behavior during the change of life. A woman's menstrual cycle alone could see her committed, suffering from uterine derangement. Period-related madness was so commonplace that doctors encouraged mothers to delay the onset of their daughters' menses by making them take cold baths and abstain from meat and novels. Meat and novels. That's like Timbaland's next thing is tell Britney Spears to not have any meat and any novels, which, by the way, I remember in the book for Britney Spears that she wasn't allowed to eat a hamburger. Sound familiar now? Where that comes from? Now they've just pegged it as, oh, you're looking overweight, right? You're not the patriarchal, whatever ideal that we want you to be. So you can't eat hamburgers. Back then, it was about what made a woman sane or insane, which obviously, apparently here, is meat and novels. Very interesting. Okay, so many women were committed alongside Elizabeth that the hospital was overcrowded, with 231 patients squeezed into its 8 wards and another 240 patients on the waiting list. This is wild. Luckily, chloroform and ether were particularly effective on boisterous women and therefore used to quiet them. In doctors' words, not only temporarily, but permanently. Many asylum superintendents thought restraints such as straitjackets rarely necessary among males, yet it was standard for disobedient women to be constrained. And if DRUGS and straitjackets didn't work, there was always surgery. Contemporary medical notes reveal that a 20-year-old woman who spent much time in serious reading and a 30-year-old wife who dared express great distaste for her husband were among those subjected to the latest treatment to cure female insanity. They would literally remove, I can't say this here, but CLIT. Okay? This is like really brutal. The theory ran that a woman's S organs caused her madness. Her own body, her own being caused her madness. So cutting off her CLIT would calm her. You know what? I don't hear anybody going around asking to cut off men's you know what, right? You know, when I think about the patriarchy and when I think about how men have treated women throughout history, I've personally never thought about cutting off their you know what. But here we see the history of what women have had to deal with. And if we think abortion rights being taken away is extreme, which it is, by the way, imagine a whole bunch of men wanting your blank being cut off of you. Because what made you a sexual person is what deemed you insane. Men have never had to encounter that. If anything, men have been praised for their insanity, for their differences, for their sexual beings and choices, right? And here men were deeming women insane for theirs, for their own human aspects, which, by the way, yeah, women have sex. I'm sorry to surprise everyone, but they do. And they also enjoy it too when it's consensual and safe. And so it's pretty scary to think that not that long ago, men were trying to cut off the thing that actually allows us to have pleasure. And when men are our words, predators, etc., you know, women are coming with torches through their town wanting to cut off their, you know what? They're not. They're just wanting justice and fairness and equal rights, right? So it's a very good reminder to remember this has a history, and this is what men back in the day were up to. And then Timbaland seems to wants to like reinforce this mentality. So, and there was only one way to escape, to submit. And we remember this with Britney Spears. She felt that she had no other choice because the only way to see her children was to submit. Elizabeth Packard grasped the harsh reality: if women remain true to their natures, there is no hope for them. And it's true. If we stay true to the patriarchal concept of a woman, there is no hope for us. There isn't. We're not going to change the world that way. We're not going to set an example. We're really, truly not. Every genuine emotion had to be stifled. Every act of difference from society's prescribed model of femininity had to be suppressed. Elizabeth could not display her anger at what had happened or even hint at hatred for her husband. Her psychiatrist was watching. Sound familiar? And her unladylike emotion would justify continued incarceration. Sound familiar? After all, women who had ungovernable personalities and strong resolution, plenty of what is termed nerve, were literally textbook examples of female insanity. Nonetheless, Elizabeth wrote of the breaking in she was supposed to be experiencing. I think it will be a long time before this cure will be effected. Determined to remain true to herself, she wrote, God grant that the time may never wear away in me the spirit of resistance. And that spirit of resistance is something we still need, because the medicalization of female behavior did not stop in the 19th century, nor did the attempt to silence and discredit women by claiming we were crazy. Thinking of the fearless who were deemed hysteric. One doctor declared there is mixed up with the women's movement much mental disorder. Think of Rose McGowan, whose resolve to hold Harvey Weinstein to account saw his lawyers discuss a plot to make her seem increasingly unglued, a memo revealed. Think of Nancy Pelosi in her electric blue suit, literally standing up to Donald Trump. There is something wrong with her upstairs, Trump railed on Twitter in response. She is a very sick person. This is all we hear about women. Whenever women have their own personal opinion, are speaking their own truth to power, we're deemed sick, we're deemed crazy. And what do you think the implications of that are? Read Britney Spears' book, and you're going to learn about the implications. That hot summer night in 1860, Elizabeth thought her life was over. In fact, it was only just beginning. The worst that my enemies can do, they have done, and I fear them no more, she wrote of being locked up in the asylum. I am now free to be true and honest. This woman-crushing machinery works the wrong way. The true woman shines brighter and brighter under the process instead of being strangled. And honestly, that's a great way of looking at Britney Spears' book. Britney, in my personal opinion, has shined brighter and brighter. She really has. She was not strangled. She did not let the muzzle be eternal. The patriarchy can try to control us, but some of us cannot be controlled. Instead, we can take inspiration from women like Elizabeth, a woman who, like so many others before her and long since, was declared insane by a patriarchal society simply by speaking her mind. Yet despite the odds being stacked against her, she managed to triumph and change the world, improving the rights of women and the mentally ill. Last quote, "Women are made to fly and soar," she wrote, "not to creep and crawl as the haters of our sex want us to." So obviously, I read this book before reading Britney Spears' book, and I had no idea that men could just, in the middle of the night, kidnap their wives and put them in insane asylums because they had their own personal opinion, or they weren't acting in the ways in which men wanted them to act, right? Or behave. I didn't know that was part of my gender's history, and I wonder why. It makes sense that I wasn't taught that, because once I did learn that, I had a whole new perception of this world and of my own personal gender as well. And we hear crazy all the fucking time about women specifically. And I'm so proud of Britney Spears and also Elizabeth as well for being able to tell us what the consequences and implications are of throwing that word around when it comes to women. What ends up happening to them at the hands of men, at the hands of the mob that the men can so easily manipulate and control, right? It's so brave for her to show that. And there's a chapter in here that I definitely want to mention because it says this quote, "My pen shall rage." And it really reminds me of Britney Spears, because boy, was Britney Spears' pen raging in her book. It was a rage that all of us needed to hear, because we also all had to learn how we were complicit. How we were complicit in a society that so easily deems women crazy without any evidence of such a thing. And it's usually just when a woman is doing something that the patriarchy doesn't want them to do. Margaret Atwood said, "A word after a word after a word is power." And so my response to Timbaland, when it comes to him wanting JT I didn't know Justin Timberlake was so called that, but wanting to have JT put a muzzle on Britney Spears, he seems to not understand that a word after a word after a word is power. And what we witness in Britney Spears' book was a word after a word after a word that gained power. And with our knowledge of history and with our knowledge now of what Britney Spears sadly had to endure, we should never want to take that power away, ever again. I mean, there's a lot in this book that maybe I'll make this a book club because I know that we're getting into a lot of other things today. And I don't want to go overboard with how amazing this book is, but like, I can't recommend this book enough. It's honestly so incredible and insightful. And it taught me so much. It taught me so much. So I recommend this book. I recommend Britney Spears' book. And to Timbaland, Britney Spears is another woman they could not silence. Another woman that the patriarchy could not silence. And when they can't silence women, they call them crazy. And there are implications to those words. No one should be throwing that around. Also, the stigma around mental health. No one should ever be throwing around the word crazy. Ever. But what I found about Timbaland was pretty interesting. I'm not done with Timbaland yet. Sorry, but I'm honestly not. So when I was looking into Timbaland, I found that Timbaland spills secret about Aaliyah. I was in love with her. First of all, spilling a secret is one of the creepiest things I've ever heard when it comes to a child, a minor. That's not spilling a secret, that's spilling almost a potential crime. Right? Or am I overreacting here? I mean, isn't that what that is? So it says here that Timbaland spills secret about Aaliyah. I was in love with her, in love with a child. I would like to correct that. Timbaland has dominated the music scene, working with big names like Justin Timberlake, Dr. Dre. He goes, "This will be the last time I talk, and I'm going into hibernation." You know what? This is the last time I talk, and then I'm going into hibernation. Timbaland, I find it odd that no one said they wanted to put a muzzle on you. It's so interesting that men can go around saying that they're in love with children. In love with children. And that they had to fight their inclinations of, you know what, PDF file. And no one ever told him that he should have a muzzle on him. No one. I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. And when a woman speaks her truth about what happened to her, her abortion story, which she has every right to talk about. She didn't hurt nobody saying her story. She didn't hurt nobody. The only person that would be hurt is someone who's having to realize the truth of what happened and having to face that, which maybe Justin Timberlake is having to do. But the fact that Timbaland is able to go on an interview and say that he was in love with a child, and that it's even quoted like that, as if it's a secret. Let me tell you a secret. I'm in love with a child. If I ever heard anybody around me say that about my daughter, they would no longer be allowed in my fucking house. And I'm straight up honest about that. If I ever heard that, I could no longer trust someone like that around my daughter. And he says it like he's in love with her. What, that like there's a such thing as romantic love for a child when you're a grown man? Do you know what the actual term for that is? Do you know what the actual legal criminal term for that is? I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just maybe a little bit triggered by that But I find it despicable that that was even said without shame. Without shame. So he goes, this will be the last time I talk and I'm going back into hibernation. What, before jail? Like, what? He says before making some stunning revelations. Stunning. There's such stunning revelations. After Timbaland sings the praises of Aaliyah, she was just super dope, blah, blah, blah. When I first met Aaliyah, here it is. It's time for the world to hear this. You know what? I'm good. Why don't you put a muzzle on it, Timbaland? It's not time for the world to hear about. Why don't you talk to your therapist about this? This is so deeply disturbing. The fact that you think you can tell the whole world this is alarming, in my opinion. It's alarming. This is somebody who called Britney Spears crazy. This guy called Britney Spears crazy. I was in love with her. I said, but I'm not. She's just a baby. I'm old. Yeah, she's just a baby. She's a baby that you just said you were in love with. Romantic love. You're romantically in love with a baby as a grown-ass man. And you want to put a muzzle on Britney Spears? Do you see how misogyny works? Do you see how the patriarchy works now? How someone like that, no one really criticized. Britney Spears speaking her truth about Justin Timberlake, her own personal story. She's crazy. She needs to put a muzzle on it. Oh, man. You know what? I actually now can laugh because the more I think about it, the more actually absurd that is. That is so fucking gross, man. You said you're in love with a baby. With a baby. You said you were romantically in love with a baby as a grown man. All I have to say is ew, ew, ew. I feel gross. Right, Marissa? Me fucking too. Like, what? He said a baby. He said he was in love romantically with a baby and that he's old. Okay, so let's keep going. The Timbaland says, I said to myself, I'm just going to be her brother. Ew, alleged brother. Oh my God. A brother is not romantically in love with their sister, their baby sister, dude. Like, does he get... Timbaland, do you get any more cringe or worse these days? Like, I mean, wow, bro. Wow. Then you went to brother mode. You went from romantically... Why not just friend, by the way? Why'd it have to go from being romantically in love with a baby to being her brother? What's going on there? Why? Why did you go to that? Makes no sense. Then he goes, oh man, I was fighting a lot. A big war. A big war of what? Committing an S crime? Becoming an S offender? He was fighting a big war between basically being in jail or out of jail. Is that what he means? Big war. Big war. That's even scarier that you were fighting yourself so much about a baby. About a baby, bro. You were fighting it so hard about a baby. Disgusting. But I loved Aaliyah. And that's how, by the way, brooming works is these, with my predator, etc. These predators will say they love the victim, right? They mask it in this love when really it's criminal activity, by the way. It's criminal. It's a crime. It's a crime. It's not love. No. It ain't love. It's a crime. It's a straight up crime. And this is the man who wants to put a muzzle on Britney Spears. Oh, bro. Oh, man. Oh, man. So do you guys want to watch it? I have the video pulled up, so I thought that maybe we would watch him actually saying it. By the way, he said it in front of a camera. He said it in front of a camera. Yeah, he is sick. Yeah, speaking of sick and crazy, look who's calling someone crazy, right? Look who's calling someone crazy. But let's watch the video.
Aaliyah, it's time for the world to hear this. I'm gonna give up a little secret. I was in love with her. I said, but I'm not. She's just a baby. I'm old. I said,
I'm sorry. She's just a baby. He literally says, I'm in love with her, but she's just a baby. I'm having a hard time, guys. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit triggered.
myself, I'm just gonna be her brother. Oh man, I was fighting.
Ew, he goes from saying he was in love with her, I'm just gonna be her brother. What does that even mean? What brother is romantically in love with his sister? And he's trying to sound like he just says it like it's no big deal. Like, oh man, like I was in love with her. I was in love with that baby. I was in love with that baby. And then I was like, I'm just going to be her brother. What the fuck does that mean, bro? What does that mean? That is a crime. That is a legit crime. All right, let's continue. God.
I was fighting a big war, but I loved Aaliyah.
He even married based on his infatuation with the age ain't nothing but a number singer. When I first saw...
Okay. We got a clear picture of what Timbaland is like. We got a clear picture of what kind of individual he seems to be. He seems to want to put muzzles on women. And he seems to be the kind of grown-ass man that is in love with babies and has to fight himself before he commits a crime. I just had to translate. I feel like I have to translate for Timbaland to translate what he's saying here. And yet no one in the media told him to put a muzzle on it. No one called him crazy. They called it a secret, that he was revealing a secret to the world. No one called him crazy. No one told anyone to put a muzzle on him. No one. No one put him in a conservatorship. No one put him in jail. No one did anything. It was just deemed a secret that he was revealing to the world. Wait, he gets worse, by the way. He gets worse. He legit gets worse. Wait for this. Timbaland defends R. Kelly. Now, this is after R. Kelly was convicted, okay? This is after R. Kelly was convicted. Timbaland defends R. Kelly and says, don't mix music up with personal. I'm just not even gonna go there. Okay, he called Kelly, who is currently in jail for numerous crimes, the king of R&B during a recent appearance on Shannon Sharpe's podcast. So let's get to it. He goes, R. Kelly's the king of R&B. We all know that man. Yeah, we do all know that man. He is a convicted R. He is a convicted R. But look how he talks about R. Kelly and look how he talks about fucking Britney Spears. Look how this man talks about R. Kelly and how he talked about Britney Spears. Britney Spears put a muzzle on her. Britney Spears, she's crazy. Britney Spears trying to go viral. R. Kelly, we all got to respect his music. We all know that man. Do you know that man? Do you know that that man's in prison? He obviously did not read Britney Spears' book, and he obviously did not watch the docuseries about R. Kelly. He obviously did not. And he wants to like seem like he's some credible source when he's talking about Britney Spears. Hilarious, bro. Hilarious. We all know that man. Timbaland told Sharp, everybody jump when you say R. Kelly. I'm like, so we just gonna ignore his music that he gave us, that we all jam to? No, we can't do that. His art is his art. I ain't gonna bash the man's art. You know what? God, I'm a little bit pissed today. Listen. The reason why men and predators, alleged predators, want us to separate their art from their criminal activity is because within art, in the art world, it's the only place that predators can be financially rewarded for their behavior. And what comes of that financial reward? Top paying, heavy hitting lawyers, top of the notch lawyers, criminal defense lawyers. They don't want us to separate the art from the predator because they don't want to lose the power that they have over their victims. And I'm sorry to put it plainly like this, but that is what it is. Predators want us to separate the artists from their crimes because the minute that we don't separate the artists from their crimes, they no longer have the financial reward that gives them the power to perpetuate their abuse and get away with it. It's very, 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 very simple. Also, men for a very long time weren't being held accountable for their crimes. Husbands were putting women in asylums without any type of actual proof whatsoever. Men have been committing crimes for a very, very long time and getting away with it. And so they're so used to everyone separating their work from their actual crimes and how they harm individuals. They're so used to it, they don't know what it's like without it. It's a privilege. It's a privilege that the others do not have. Women don't have that privilege. We saw it in Britney Spears' book, where she didn't even do anything, right? She's living her life. She just wants freedom. And look what happened to her. But men, if you start to call them crazy or call them criminals or call them predators and start to connect the fact that their work, their art actually helps perpetuate the abuse that they're committing, is helping them get away with their crimes. Because don't ever forget that R. Kelly, in my opinion, was protected by Sony for a very long time. And he got access to more and more victims because of that protection. Because Sony wasn't separating the artist from their alleged crimes. That's what happens when you separate. There are more victims. More victims happen the more we separate. That's just clearly what happens. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. God, sorry. Okay, here he goes again. Don't mix music up with personal, he continued. Music is a feeling that stands alone. What a privilege, bro. What a privilege. I can't personally, as a survivor, listen to any predator's music or alleged predator's music because it triggers my trauma. It triggers my trauma. When I find out that somebody has harmed another human being in the same way that I have been harmed, I can't jam or listen along to the music that Timbaland is trying to say that we all just jam along to. I don't know if a lot of people can jam along with R. Kelly anymore after knowing the things that R. Kelly did to children. Oh, but now we kind of understand why Timbaland has a lot of feels for R. Kelly, because apparently Timbaland was in love with a baby too. He was in love with a baby too. In love with the baby too. But he was able to stop himself, right? It don't have no, wait, music is something that don't have no race, that brings people together. The race is not the same. Okay, he brings in race, but we're talking about somebody who has AR'd children. You can't compare race to somebody that has AR'd human beings, children. Look at that. Look at that. That is not, I'm sorry. That's just whoa. Not the way. It don't have no drama with it. No, Timbaland, it doesn't have no drama with it. It has trauma with it. It has trauma with it. No, yeah, no drama. Trauma with it. It is a place of enjoyment, of feeling. So don't bring drama into music. Leave that outside. He's telling He makes me angrier and more upset the more I read about this fucking guy. Don't bring drama. We're not bringing drama into it. We're bringing trauma. Actually, you brought drama into it when you called Britney Spears crazy and told her to put a muzzle on it and talked about how the whole thing was just to go viral. That, to me, him speaking like that is like drama. Gossiping about somebody is drama. What R. Kelly did to children is not drama, bro. It is trauma. What, do you think R. Kelly was in love with the babies? Do you think that R. Kelly was just in love with the babies? Is that what you think at night? Britney Spears is crazy and R. Kelly was just in love with the babies and you were just in love with the baby too? Leave that outside? No, man. I'm not going to leave it outside. I'm not. Because that individual created lifelong trauma for so many people. For so many fucking people. So I'm not going to leave it outside. I'm going to hold him accountable just like the criminal system did. He was held accountable. He's held accountable right now. As he should be, honestly. From what I heard R. Kelly has done. Horrific. Leave it outside. Listen to this guy. Leave it outside. Leave your trauma and your PTSD outside of music. Us men that are in love with babies don't want to hear it. Us men, grown-ass men that love babies, we don't want to hear it from you. Don't spoil our music. Okay. Sorry to spoil your music, bro. So sorry to spoil your music. Spoiling music over harming children. I don't know. Think I'd rather spoil the music. I think I would rather spoil the music. All right, Timbaland, I think I've had enough of you for today. We're going to go into Steven Tyler and Russell Brand. They are two other alleged dads as of recent. God, Timbaland. How's everyone feeling about Timbaland? How fucking gross it was that? It's just crazy. Yeah, it's not drama, it's trauma. I'm so over that, right? So over that. Okay, so what'd you say? Okay. I'll be right back. Okay. I'm back. All right, let's get into Steven Tyler quickly and let's get into Russell Brand. Okay, so first of all, Steven Tyler's teen essay defense is effing insane. But before we get into that, Steven Tyler officially named an SA of a minor lawsuit from decades old claim. So I don't know if anyone knows about this, but it's pretty gnarly. Basically, he got sued from a Jane Doe. No, she made her name. Her name is Julia Holcomb. Alleges that Tyler convinced Holcomb's mother to grant him guardianship over her when she was 16 years old, which consequently allowed her to live with him and engage in a S relationship. She claims they were together from 1973 until about 3 years later. So this fool adopted his victim. Which is a whole new level of alleged dad. That takes alleged dad to a whole new level. He is really I don't even know, he's like the runner-up really now. The grossest alleged dad I've ever heard of. In the suit filed in Los Angeles and obtained by Rolling Stone, the plaintiff, Julia Holcomb, alleges that Tyler convinced Holcomb's mother to grant him guardianship over her when she was 16 years old. When suit was first filed over a month ago, it identified named Tyler, naming the defendants as defendant Doe 1 and Does 2 through 50. The complaint was amended to include his name, though Does 2 through 50 haven't been specified yet. Holcomb, who Rolling Stone mentioned in a 1976 profile of the band in reference to Tyler's romantic life, funny, has been public about her experience with Tyler in the past, and the lawsuit directly quotes from Tyler's own memoir. In his book, without stating a name, Tyler similarly says he, quote unquote, almost took a teen bride. That's what they call it. In love with a baby. You know what, Steven Tyler? You should take it from Timbaland and call it being in love with a baby. Were you in love with a baby too? And that her parents fell in love with me. Ew, brooming vibe. The parents fell in love with him. Signed a paper over for me to have custody, so I wouldn't get arrested if I took her out of state. I took her on tour with me. Which, by the way, trafficking, for example, is when you take someone across state lines, right? And so what he's talking about when it comes to arrest is that he got out of not only being an S offender, but also not being arrested for trafficking. Right? Or am I wrong? Trafficking of a minor? For you know what? I mean, this is just insane to me. This is just insane. The privilege of this man. Allegedly. Whoa. Wait, why is this an ad here? Get out of here. Get out of here. I don't want these ads. I don't want this ad. I want this action to expose an industry. Okay, so here is the survivor's quote here. I want this action to expose an industry that protects celebrity offenders, to cleanse and hold accountable an industry that both exploited and allowed me to be exploited for years, along with so many other naive and vulnerable kids and adults. Holcomb, who filed under her current name, Julia Misley, said in a statement regarding her suit. In the statement, she also referenced the legislation allowing her to come forward with the suit and the exploitation and trauma she claims she faced from Tyler, because I know that I am not the only one who suffered ABUSC in the music industry. No, you're not. I also did. And there are a lot of survivors out there. A lot of survivors out there with PTSD, lifelong trauma because of these industries, because of these institutions that have been covering up for SA for too long, for decades. And when we speak up, you know what we get called? Crazy. We get called crazy, but a man who says he was in love with a baby is able to just, with no critique whatsoever, really. No critique whatsoever. But when a survivor comes forward, she's deemed fucking crazy. I am so over it. I've hit, I think, my limit today almost. I think I've hit my limit on the alleged dads, honestly. I've hit it. I've totally hit it. In the statement, she also referenced that because I know that I am not the only one who suffered ABUSC in the music industry. I feel it is time for me to take this stand and bring this action to speak up and stand in solidarity with the other survivors. I guess in the suit, she alleges that she was powerless to resist. Makes sense. She's a child. God, there's a lot here, but I do remember something with an abortion too, which was horrible. Hopefully I come across this while I'm live. But it says Tyler did not meaningfully follow through on these promises and instead continue to travel with ASSAULT and provide alcohol and DRUGS to plaintiff, the suit claims. Wow, this is a long article. Which maybe I'll put it in the Reddit so that all of us can read it, because I know that it's getting late here. But I do recommend reading this entire article and listening to the story of this survivor, because it is horrendous and it really does take alleged dad to a whole other level. But guess what? Guess what ends up happening? First of all, I love that Rolling Stone does end up doing an article saying that Steven Tyler's teen, you know what, defense is fucking insane, legal experts say. 3 months after being sued for SA of a minor, the Aerosmith lead singer's responses included that the girl suing him consented. And he had immunity as her guardian. So he's a dad, just like Timbaland's a brother, right? So we got Steven Tyler alleging he's a dad to this victim, this survivor. And we got Timbaland being a brother to the baby that he is in love with. I mean, does this get any crazier? So one wants to be a brother. One wants to be her dad. It kind of reminds me of Justin Long. Remember Justin Long when he was like about him wanting to be the dad or whatever, adopting her? Sounds a lot like Steven Tyler here. So let's see what the quote says when it comes to Steven. Signed a paper over to me to have custody so I wouldn't get arrested. So that's in his own book. That's in his own book. Okay. Tyler, what did you say though? I think plaintiff wanted to file a motion to dismiss these defendants. They would win. What did he say here? I want to hear, never have we encountered legal defense as obnoxious. If he truly admitted in the book that he knew she was 15 and intentionally took her to a state where the law was 16, he's still in deep trouble, Ring says. That's basically, yeah, trafficking, a minor, across state lines to have S with her, which is more to R her. There's a little gray area, but bottom line, he's going to have a difficult time arguing this is consensual, if anything, in a place where the age of consent is 18. I mean, it's obnoxious that he's literally saying that because he was her guardian, her alleged dad. I mean, this is more of alleged. I can't believe how much alleged dad action is happening right now. Because he was her alleged dad, he was allowed to do whatever he wanted to do with a child. I mean, and guess what, guys? Guess what? There is another one. There is another minor. So it's the second such lawsuit lodged against Tyler in the past 12 months alone. In December 2023, Julia sued Tyler on allegations of SA, SB, and intentional infliction of emotional distress of a minor. She says that in 1973, when she was 16 and he was 26 years old, guys, Tyler embarked on a relationship with her, going so far as to become her guardian so that she could travel with him without attracting law enforcement's attention. While Tyler has denied Miss Lee's allegations, he also seemed to confirm her account in his memoir. So in a suit filed on November 2nd, Bellino says she first encountered Tyler around 1975 when she was working as a teen model in Manhattan, per the BBC. She recalls meeting Aerosmith after a fashion show and walking to an after party at the Warwick Hotel with a band and their entourage. Bellino alleges that Tyler, her, and Root that she made a comment about a song lyric and he became visibly irritated. Bellino claims he grabbed her by the hand and forced her into a phone booth where he stuck his tongue down her throat and put his hands upon her body, her B and her B and her G, moving and removing clothing and pinning her against the wall of the phone booth. Per Rolling Stone, the suit goes on to say, as Tyler was mauling and groping plaintiff, he was humping her, pretending to have sex with plaintiff. Others stood by outside the phone booth laughing, and as passerby watched and witnessed, nobody in the entourage intervened. She has suffered and will continue to suffer great pain of mind and body, severe and permanent emotional distress, physical manifestations of emotional distress, embarrassment, humiliation, physical, personal, and psychological injuries. So what do we feel about this? What do we feel about Steven Tyler? How are we feeling about Steven Tyler? I mean, honestly, he gives alleged dad a whole new name, in my opinion. This is pretty disturbing. And what's also really disturbing is that he put in his book about the first survivor and spoke about it briefly. And so I personally am appalled. I'll definitely be keeping my eye on this. We all should. And it's sad because a lot of these rock stars honestly love to say that that era was just the era of being a rock star, right? and boys will be boys, rock stars will be rock stars kind of thing. But just remember that during that time, it was still a crime. It was still a crime, and it was still wrong. And so it's really good to remember that, because a lot of these alleged predators from the 60s, 70s, etc., really like to ride on the coattails of being a rock star. And a rock star does not give you permission to harm someone. A rock star does not give you... being a rock star does not make you above the law. You are not above the law because you are a rock star, right? So the law didn't change or anything. It wasn't like the law was different during that time. It wasn't. It was the same law. So, yeah. So that's Steven Tyler. 2 lawsuits, I guess, now. Brave survivors. I would like to say that I stand with those survivors, and they're an inspiration to us all. And moving on quickly, we got Russell Brand here. So we all know Russell Brand. Stay free. He's the conspiracy guy. He's the guy who is alleging that his victims are in a conspiracy up against him, similar to Nick Carter as well, which we talked about, or I spoke about, I guess, a few episodes ago, about the conspiracy. And again, I'm here to remind everybody that survivors do not conspire, they inspire. When one survivor speaks up, they inspire another survivor to do the same. And now these alleged predators and their lawyers are going for the whole conspiracy thing, that they're conspiring. And I just want to remind about the inspirational aspect of survivors, because I find the conspiring thing to be defamatory, and it perpetuates the abuse against survivors. So moving on, Russell Brand, the documentary came out. Many victims here. If you haven't seen the BBC or my episode, I guess, about Russell Brand on E-Predators, I highly recommend watching it just to understand what the allegations are, what he's coming up against. Now, moving on, apparently there is a lawsuit now. Russell Brand, the British actor and comedian who's recently been hit with a quartet of SA allegations, has a new accuser who claims he exposed his blank on the set of Arthur in 2010 before SAing her in a bathroom. The allegations surfaced Friday in a motion obtained by the Daily Beast, in which the unidentified woman asked a New York judge for anonymity in an impending lawsuit set to be filed under the Adult Survivors Act. The woman alleges the A occurred in July 7, 2010. Brand, who starred as Arthur's character at the peak of his Hollywood stardom, exposed his blank to her on set in full view of the cast and crew. So the cast and crew were bystanders, right? Witnessing this. The motion says, adding that that Brand appeared drunk and was carrying around a bottle of vodka. Later that day, the woman claims Brand followed her into a bathroom and SA'd her, while some of the film's production crew guarded the door from outside. She did not detail the alleged A further. First of all, I have been also in the same sad situation, which I can't go into quite yet, but I have been behind a closed door before, while a bodyguard was on the other side of it and my friend couldn't get in. And so as a survivor, hearing her story, I just have to let her know that you are not the only one. My predator was not Russell Brand, but I had a very, very similar experience here. And it just, I just have to say that because it happened. The closed door thing with the other people on the other side was very triggering for me when I read it. As a legal representative for Brand and Warner Brother Pictures, which produced Arthur, did not return a request for comment from the Daily Beast. Shocking. While the woman's name is withheld, the October 7th filing identifies her as an actor who still works in the industry. She asked for anonymity out of fear she be blacklisted from acting opportunities, harassed by Brand's fans, and to avoid general embarrassment and shame, the motion said. You know, it's so interesting how so many survivors are having to hide their names, right? Out of legitimate fear for their lives, for their reputations, etc. And someone like Timbaland and someone like Steven Tyler can go around saying things like, for Timbaland, he was in love with a baby and he was old. And for Steven Tyler, he wrote in his book that he adopted, basically, got guardianship over a child and had blank, 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 blank with her to escape accountability, right? And he put that in his biography, apparently, his autobiography. And you see survivors are constantly having to hide themselves out of fear, while you see the men or these individuals in positions of power, alleged predators, etc., saying things so blatantly with no shame, right? And for the most part, getting away with it. And that's why solidarity with survivors is so important, because you can see the power imbalance at play here. You can see by how the survivor is coming forward versus how the alleged predator is coming forward about their alleged crimes, right? It really speaks volumes to me personally. The accuser claims that she was not brought back to the set of Arthur. Oh, so she was fired. Here we go again. So this is what I discovered on my journey towards e-predators, is that I realized that these institutions, for example, will have these survivors signing these NDAs. And the survivor is signing the NDA to keep their job. And then after signing the NDA, the survivor gets fired. The survivor gets fired and the alleged predator gets promoted and gets to stay at the job. Right? And so here we're seeing this again, allegedly. The accuser claims that she was not brought back to the set of Arthur after the alleged A, despite initially being booked to work 3 days. She says she was only paid for 1 day of work. Brand was initially accused of SA by 4 women in September. Joint investigation conducted by British publications The Times and Sunday Times and the TV network Channel 4. The alleged A's occurred between 2006 and 2013. One of the accusers claimed Brand R'd her without a condom against a wall in Los Angeles home. Another woman, also in LA, said Brand A'd her when she worked with him. When she confronted him, she said he flipped and became super angry. Brand's other 2 accusers said they were A'd in the United Kingdom. One said she was only 16 when she had SC with Brand, who she says engaged in the behaviors of a broomer. The other said Brand was physically and emotionally abusive. As the allegations emerged, the British stand-up comedian London Hughes revealed that people who worked alongside him previously had warned her that actor, now 48, was known to pursue women he worked with, have S with them, and then cut off contact. He likes to pursue women, have S with them, she tweeted last month. But as soon as he had S with them, they'd made him feel sick and he didn't want to be around them anymore. So he would have them fired or dropped from the agency. Wow, Russell Brand. As someone who experienced that personally, I am livid. I am livid. Because that's what I experienced in this industry. And every single time I would speak up or try to speak up, I lost my job. Lost my career to predators. I lost my whole fucking career to predators, which is why I do this work, which is why I'm sitting here right now. Because I saw how it happens. And I saw how it gets covered up. And I saw how it gets protected. I saw it, and I've seen it multiple times firsthand. And whenever I would speak up about something, I was deemed crazy too. I was deemed a liar. I was deemed someone who was trying to just get attention. I was deemed all of those things. And I know I'm not. And I know that I've been speaking the truth since day one. I know my truth, and so many survivors know their truth and deserve to know their truth, because when they know their truth, they're able to speak up and make a change. And that's really the only thing survivors want to do, is make change. They want to make a change. They don't want this to happen again. They don't. They really don't. Because we all know we're going to lose our jobs when we speak up. We've learned. We all know that we get silenced. We've learned. We all know that we get deemed crazy. We've learned. We've learned. We know. We know what they all end up doing to us. We know. So when a survivor still continues to speak up and come forward, what? They want to be called crazy. They want to be harassed. They want to lose their jobs. Very funny. Very funny. You know what I mean? Very funny. Oh, thanks, Mick. Thanks, Mick. Yeah, I still can't. I'm still like, I have lifelong PTSD from this. And that's why, even when I come on here, I'm not going to not show my human aspects when I'm hearing this. I'm sorry. I'm going to show you guys when I'm triggered. I'm going to show when I'm angry. I'm going to show when I'm able to find humor in something to like alleviate the pain. Because I want people to see survivors as human and not perfect victims, and that we're not trying to appease anybody. We're trying to protect people. We're trying to keep people safe. We're trying to say our truth. We're trying to be respected. We're trying to be respected. And we're just trying to make sure this doesn't happen again. And we deserve our justice. We deserve our justice. Right? And so I'm never going to hide, the shit, because I'm done hiding the shit. Hiding the shit didn't do anything either, right? When I tried to appease and, just go through my litigation, like not saying a thing and, appease to the lawyers and appease to this and appease, or as a child actor, appease to Nickelodeon, appease to Jamie Lynn Spears, appease to Dan Schneider. It didn't do shit for me. At the end of the day, I still lost my job. I still lost a lot of my life. Got PTSD from it, lifelong trauma, and my silence did not protect me. And so I am so overdoing it. I'm so overdoing it. Marissa, thank you for building this wonderful community. You've helped me so many people, and I know you will continue. Thank you so much, Marissa. It's so wonderful having you here. Seriously, this community, this is what I wanted when Josh, by the way, hi, Josh. Thank you so much. By the way, do you hate daylight saving time as much as I do? I'm ready to be rid of it. Yeah, I never even know when it's happening, to be quite honest with you. I have no idea when it's happening. My phone just switches over and I just allow it to, and then I kind of move on. I'm not a fan of it either. They should honestly remove it. They should honestly remove it. But our silence doesn't protect us. Our silence does not. Either way, we get treated like shit. So I'd rather be treated like shit when I speak the truth and I stand up for what's right than be treated like shit for doing nothing, saying nothing, and staying in my bed, right? That's like where this is the point that I've gotten to personally. And every survivor has their own journey, but that's where I've personally gotten to. I have been preyed upon by my bosses, which I can't get into certain things. I've been preyed upon by coworkers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on, right? And every time I was silent, the more I got preyed upon. And I refuse to allow my daughter or any of my children to go into any environment where this is still deemed acceptable. Like the fact that this is still acceptable, that men can say they're in love with babies and they're chill. Where men can adopt, get guardianship over children they're trying to R. It's ridiculous. And then we're seen as crazy. Isn't that funny? That we're seen as crazy? Brand blasted a video to his social media channels in September denying ever SAing anyone. He acknowledged his reputation for being promiscuous, but insisted that all of his relationships had been consensual. He claimed that the allegations were part of a coordinated attack. Blah, blah, blah. The conspiracy thing again. The relationships that I had were absolutely always consensual. Why are there so many of them then? I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent, and I'm being transparent about it now. Can you get more transparent than transparent? I don't mind them using my books and my stand-up to talk about my promiscuous consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Well, Russell, good luck. Sorry. Good luck, Russell Brand. Good luck with all of those allegations. Good luck with you being on Rumble. And good luck, good luck, good luck. And good night to you. And good night to all of the alleged dads out there. You know, as a mom with children, my children are my life. My children are my life. And every decision that I personally make each day is to create more and more safety for them. And when I see these men speaking the way that they do, committing these actions, these alleged actions, alleged criminal activity, you know, you name it. When I see it and then they put their daughter in a photo, their kids in a photo, it breaks my heart, honestly, because my life changed when I became a parent. My life totally changed. It did a complete 180, and all I wanted to do was make my kids proud of me and to make sure that I could protect them from what I personally had to endure. And I just want safety for them and to teach them what it's like to be respectful to other human beings, have empathy and compassion for other human beings, and make sure that they try to create safety for those close to them. And when I see these individuals and read these whatever you want to, these alleged dads, whatever, it makes me sick. It makes me sick that Timbaland had the audacity to call her crazy when he said he was in love with a baby and had to fight so hard not to what? Right? And survivors are called crazy. We get the bad rep. Really? Us? When you read these people, it's us you think are crazy? Anyways, I hope this episode did show at least or reveal a good amount. And yeah, you guys are the best. It's so nice to always see all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Don't forget to like the video at the end. I never say that because I always feel weird about saying that. But if you can please all just like the video afterwards and make a comment so it can boost the Survivor content, that would be so lovely. And thank you all so much for everything. I'll see you Thursday. We're going to dig into a few more things but you know, I'm trying to make Sundays a day for all of us to have healing content. And so, you know, this Sunday is Britney Spears. The following Sunday is the Social Change Now. And I try to make Sundays a healing day. So if you're a member, I can't wait to see you on Sunday. And be kind to one another, advocate for one another, and let's never forget, power to survivors. Have a beautiful night, everybody. And I'll see you Sunday.